Hello and welcome to a tutorial. My name is Frank and I'm with the DECA software company, and today we're going to show you how to use Collections Max Professional. First thing you're going to do is you're going to double click on Collections Max Professional, start it up. Collections Max Pro is the software that debt collectors use to collect accounts. It's usually used in collection agencies. And when you first log in, you're going to want to enter your username and password. And when the system first starts up, it's going to show you all the accounts in your index, all the accounts that are assigned to you. We have 636 accounts in there. So I'm going to give you an overview of the screen. It's broken into three different places here. You have your collection screen, you have a custom screen. We can hold 60 different custom fields. There's only 6 fields in here at the time being. And there's also a browser. And there's different, you can go on different sites and stuff like that in your browser instead of opening up a separate browser window and whatnot. And it's very easy to change information on this screen. For instance, if we wanted to add a work phone, we just click the work phone label, and let's add a we'll just add a work phone number, and there it is. And we also have the birth date. It'll tell you how old the debtor is, and you know, you could send email and stuff like that. So I'm going to start off with the first function here. We get the search, and there's different ways that you can do a search in here. You could do a search by file number, account number, custom fields, first name. You know, so if we did first name and we typed in, you know, just like this one, baby, we hit search, you'd have, you know, baby Herman. You can also do a phone search, like what we can do. Let's find a phone number on a different account. This happens to be our phone number, so we'll copy it. We'll go back to this account, we'll hit phone search, paste, click OK, and there we go, Benny the Cab. And if you wanted to go to this account, all you would need to do is click on the jump to account button, and it'll take you right to that account. Okay, so the other thing we can do in the search is you can do it by social security number. You can also delete a phone number from the search. So let's do this one. We can delete a phone number, and we're going to delete 555-147 8888, and then we're going to click OK. Okay, it removed it from the system, and actually to see it, what you're going to do is I'm going to click index again and see it deleted from the phone log and deleted the phone number. So you have a way to delete phone numbers, you have a way to search phone numbers and search all this different information with your search here. That's how you use the search. Callbacks. You click view all callbacks. What callbacks is it's a reminder. So let's say that if you happen to call a spouse of a debtor and she says, "Oh yeah, he'll be home at 3 o'clock" or something like that, you could click add callback. You could select what time you want the callback for. So instead of 3, maybe we'll do 3:15, and say something like spouse said debtor will be home at that time. Now what happens is that at 3:15 you'll get a pop-up, and it'll just tell you to check this, and you can hit today's callbacks, and you can select it and then hit jump to account to go to that callback. You can also go over here, and after you've actually taken care of this reminder, if you want to remove it, you select it, hit delete callback, select yes, and the callback's now deleted. Okay, that's how your callbacks work. Now promises is two separate things. By clicking on the promises, you're going to get all the promise to pays that are associated with you. Okay, that you have in here. You're going to get all of those. Okay, so anything that's set as a promise to pay is going to be in there. And the other thing is you need to click on the promise log. Now the promise log, for instance, these are the promises for Mickey Mouse here. You can do a lot of things with this. You can add a promise. You can add multiple promises, which is just filling out the form and it'll add these promises all for you. Delete them. You can work a broken promise. Now in the system, what happens is if the promise doesn't come in, there isn't a payment that's made by the promise date, it'll automatically mark the promise as a broken promise, as long as Collections Max Scheduler is installed. When it's marked as a broken promise, the status changes to broken promise. So if you wanted to see what you had for broken promises, we only have one at this time, and that's a broken promise. And you could easily click this button and work those promises. Okay, or you could select it and hit jump to account. You'd be able to jump to that account as well. You can also bring up promises by date. So if you wanted to, for instance, see all the promises between a certain date range, you could do that as well. And the only one that we have right now is Mickey Mouse for that particular date. Okay, that's how your promises system works. It's these two buttons, the promise log and regular promises. Now, if we go into a work by, what a work by is it's a way for a manager or a collector or whoever to direct their efforts into a particular case. So if you wanted to have everybody from work a particular client and portfolio, particular state, a time zone, this is very beneficial for collection agencies that are on the East Coast if they want to work West Coast accounts because of the time zone difference. Say if they happen to stay later during the day or something like that on one particular day, and they want to work everything on the West Coast, they can easily say, give me everything on the Pacific time zone. And you can also do it in conjunction with the status filter. Status filter works with everything except for status. Okay, these are all the statuses we have at this time. You can add more. And a status filter works with these. So if you say, give me everything in Alabama with the status of bankruptcy, and I click that, it would give you everything in Alabama with that particular status. You can also, we have Supervisor Access. For supervisors, by default in this, what happens in a work by is that it gives you all of this information for all of the accounts that you're assigned to. But a Supervisor Access, it gives you the account system wide. So if you wanted to do a big search on all the accounts for this or that, everything from this client or whatever, and look through them, a supervisor could do that throughout the whole system. Okay, but this is locked down just so that the collectors can use this for now. Okay, that's how you do a work by. Now index, like I said before, an index is all the accounts that are assigned to you. It's not necessarily all of your accounts. It's all of the accounts that have what they call an open claim status. Now if the claim status is closed, that means that it's not going to show up in your normal queue anymore. You're going to have to pull it up, by name, or you're going to have to do a search on it. The reason we do that is because we don't want collectors jumping over the accounts. Collections Max is a shuffle system. And what that means is when you notate an account, it's going to bring that to the end of your results. So if I notated Baby Herman in the log, he's not going to be number 1 of 636. He's going to be number 636 of 636. They're going to put him on the end. Okay, and the reason that we do that is we do everything by the last day it was worked. Okay, this is 857 days since it's been worked. Okay, where other ones, this has been only 1 day. And this one, same thing. Okay, so that's basically what your index is. Now, good numbers and skips, I'm going to leave new biz out for a second, but good numbers and skips, these are two things I want to talk about. Good numbers means that you called, say for instance, this number here, and you got your debtor. When you're working accounts, you're going to want to separate your accounts that you've actually can contact somebody with the accounts that you can't. And it makes it easier when you need to skip trace somebody, because you're only wasting your time on those accounts that you need to skip instead of accounts that you've already contacted somebody. So let's say we called this particular debtor and we found him. He picked up the phone. Hi, I'm Baby Herman, blah, blah, blah. Well, what you can do is you can take this number and you can mark it as a good number in the phone log. So if I go to my phone log and this is the number here, I can hit modify, and then I can mark this as a good number just so that I know which number it is that I called, that he was a good number. I could put that in the log as well, but it's easy this way too. And what I can also do is I can go over here where it says make good number, click on that. Would you like to put it in good numbers? And we're going to go yes. And the reason that we do that is because now I can go to my good numbers button. I click on that and I'm going to get all my good numbers that I have in the system. Okay, and it does the same exact thing for skips. So if let's say that I go over here and I'm with Benny the cab here, and I call these numbers and I can't find them. Okay, and I've looked, if I click this button here, that means there's numbers on the custom screen. So say I called all these numbers, called all these people, can't find them at all. Okay, no problem. We're just going to make it a skip. Put it in skips. Yep, you can also change the main status if you want. But if I go over here to skips, I'm going to have this plus anything else that happens to be in skips. So I can just simply click this button. I get all my skips. I can skip down my accounts, and I can call them. Now, new biz is just what it means. It is new business, short for new business. That means if I click on new biz, it's going to be all of the accounts that are in the new biz status, and this status is usually what they use for importing accounts. Once they import it, it's the initial status. So I don't have to go looking for all of the new work that I have. I can go into new biz, and as I work the accounts, I can move them into active status or whatever status my manager tells me I have to put them in to get them out of new biz, so that it's easy. It's easier for me to work. So I can work all my new business, change it to active, and get the ball rolling on this. Okay, so that's how your new biz button works. Now I'm going to go over a few other buttons here. First, of course, is we have a next button. We have a back button. This just moves through your accounts as you go. You don't have to worry so much about where you are with Collections Max, because like I said, it's a shuffle system. It's going to take all of the accounts that you worked and it's going to put them at the end of the results after you notate them. All right, so if you happen to lose your place, it's not a big deal. You go back up to index and you'll actually be in a different place where you were last time. Okay, now we have a day since last worked indicator. That right there tells you when the last time you actually worked the account, and when they're first imported. I mean, it's going to turn red for the first 3 days. Okay, and and if you see a red number there instead of, say, a yellow number, that means a lot of times you're only allowed in certain states you're only allowed to contact the debtor maybe twice a week or something like that. You're going to want to look at that so that you're not, calling the debtor too much. Okay, so if you happen to see red here, like I said, that means, the account has either already been worked or was just imported or something, and you just want to be a little leery of that. Okay. And the other thing that I was going to show you is you have a how many years old they are, the debtor. You have a year indicator, so if you're skipping them down, a lot of times there's there might be multiple names, or there might be junior, senior, stuff like that. You should be able to drill it down pretty good with between the birth date and how old they are when it comes to using it with a third-party data broker. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you these icons underneath the zip code. These things here can save you a lot of time, and it can do different things for you. We have the icon of set the next work date, and what this is this is kind of like what we call a virtual queue. Now let's say that baby Herman said, I'm gonna I'll be able to find the money in probably 2 weeks after I sell some stuff or something like that. He didn't really make a promise that he was going to sell some stuff, but he didn't say that he was going to do anything. But you want to follow up with him, and I want to say, okay, I want to set this for, say, September 17th, and I click OK. So what happens is let's go off and do this for another one, so I can show you this. All right, so I set 2 for the 17th, and if I go over and I hit the workdate schedule, you're going to see I have 2 for the 17th. Now if I go over here to accounts by workdate, I can pull those accounts up that I tabbed out, this one and that one, and this way I can kind of create a schedule to follow up, to say, hey, you told me 2 weeks ago that you were going to get some money, what happened? And that's an easy way to kind of schedule work for different days. And the workdate schedule, you can also go in and you can remove them. You can remove them from the workdate schedule, and that'll make it so that they're not scheduled anymore. Okay, so these 3 buttons here, these deal with the work date. Like I said, this sets the work date. This one here is how you pull up the accounts by work date, and this here is the work date schedule. This one here is the alert button. Okay, this is the alert button, and what the alert button does is it allows you to create an alert so that when you first get on the account, it shows anybody an alert so that they know right away what to do before they even call the account. So I'm going to show you how this works. If I'm going to hit my index, I'm going to go to my second account, and Benny the Cab, I'm going to create an alert on him, and I'm going to say Benny is a lawyer. Watch what you say. Okay, so I'm going to create this alert. Now if I click my index again and I go to next, it's going to pull up this alert before anything in the log or anything like that pulls up. Okay, and if I want to get rid of that alert, I just click on where it says remove this alert. I click OK, and the alert is gone. Okay, now over here we have a settings icon. I'm not going to go into this one. This is for the administrators. I'm going to have another video that shows how to do the settings. This is something that you need an administrator password for, and we're not going to do that because this is collector training. Okay, and the next icon, this is our inventory viewer. This is like a list of all the accounts that you have, but they're in a list instead of one at a time. So this allows you to cherry pick a lot of stuff. You can sort the accounts by many ways: by status, by client, by state, by, I mean, a lot of ways that you can sort this. And what you could do too is you could hit where it says mark last worked and save settings, And you could, for instance, select one of the accounts, hit jump to account, and then click it again, and it's going to be highlighted up here. Okay, if I go to Jessica Rabbit, I click jump to account, I go back to the account, go back to the inventory viewer, it's going to be highlighted. It only works if you put 2 check marks there. Now over here, this is for Supervisor Access. This is so that you could do accounts, you could audit collectors' accounts, and look at things like the last time it was worked. So you could do stuff like you could hit last worked, and you could say, hey, you got a status of this, and you didn't work it for a long time. How come? So you're able to kind of do audits and stuff like that if you have the Supervisor Access. Okay, that's a supervisor password configured in Collections Max Administrator. So that's how your inventory viewer works. Okay, now there are 2 buttons here. This is a View Payment Log button. What this is it allows the collector to see what payments were declined, what payments were returned, and everything else without your manager needing to print anything up. So you could say, for the last 180 days, give me everything that was posted. And you could click the Save Settings box to save this setting, so you could go in and you could look at things. It's the same thing if it was declined. It's the same thing if you went, say, next 180 days, give me everything that's pending. Okay? And what'll happen is that if you get declined payments, or if you get payments that were reversed, you could go in and actually, before the manager tells you, you could go in and call these people and make different payment arrangements. Okay, so that's what that button does. Now, if I went over, you're going to see on this side there's this button, and this is the View the Custom screen. If I click on that button, you're going to see that there's information here. The only reason that this works here is that this is showing is because there's information behind it. Okay, so if I go to the next one, there's not going to be no button here, because if I go to my custom screen, there's nothing here. So Collections Max, like if you see yellow here, or if you see that button, there's going to be information behind it, so you don't have to go looking for it. Okay. So now let's go into payment information and everything else. Let's see what we can do here. Do I have anybody that has any payment info? I think I do. Let me do a search. We're going to take first name. We're going to take Mickey. I'm going to search Mickey Mouse. And we have some payment information on Mickey Mouse. So we click on payment info, and sure enough, there's a credit card pending for $5.25. Okay, so your payment button shows like a payment history and shows you any upcoming payments and stuff like that. So we have skip information, skip info. Let's see who has skip info. Okay, we have skip info here. Now skip info is this is where you could paste information regarding skip tracing information, credit card, credit reporting, anything like that. You could put this on the account itself, so this comes up. If I click on these ones, this is different skip information. If I wanted to add skip information, I could click this button. You could even attach files. I could modify the skip information, or I could delete it. Okay, so this is a very powerful tool because it allows you to hold on to text and everything like that. A lot of text you could put in here, and you could open up the browser. You could expand it and keep it the normal size and whatnot. Documents does the same thing, but if you're going to notice, there's a view file here. So if I select this and I hit view file, for instance, this happens to be a credit report. It's a fake credit report, but it's a credit report. And this credit report right here, I could use in tracking down the debtor. Okay, but it'll do PDF and a whole lot of other things. You need an Adobe Acrobat for PDFs to show up, but that's how that works. Okay, now we have address log. Address log is a list of all the addresses that the debtor used, and the reason that you want this is because you might be sending mail to the wrong address or return mail or something like that, and you could say that it was type, but you could say it was return mail. So you mark it, so if you ever come across the address again, you know not to add it because the return mail was sent from it. Okay. Employer information. Okay, so we have Eddie Valiant. He's a detective, self-employed. This is all of his information here. He don't have a spouse apparently, and this is the work phone. So if you wanted to edit the employer information, you just click edit screen. We also have in here, we have you can place a call, click to dial. All of these telephone icons can be set to click to dial. We have a click to dial system in Collections Max Professional. Okay, but that's the employer information. Change status, you're going to do this a lot. Let's say that we found out that he was in jail. Okay, we could select in jail, click OK. Boom, change status from new biz to in jail. So if we come across this account, maybe we don't want to call it right away. Maybe we do to see if he's out of jail. Okay. Notate log. This is where you actually put a note that shows up here. So if I click on Notate log, I could say spoke to wife, and she said he is in jail until next week, or maybe longer. And if you click OK, okay, you're going to see this here. Now the other thing with the Notate log is you have what they call a fast select, which is you could just select this, like if you called it phone residence left no message, okay, and it'll automatically go in, so you don't have to keep typing. The other thing is down here is where you can put an update for the client. Like when you put a note in, you only put it into this top box. But if you're going to do something like, for instance, say debtor is in jail, and leave a note for the client, this can be pulled up in a report. And if it was like a bankruptcy or something like that, you could do that as well. And we'll just click OK. And every time that you come back to this, you're going to see the update for the client. So that's how you add a note. Now we have all of these buttons here we're going to do. We have a hot list. A hot list is just like it says. It's a list of all of the debtors that you think are going to pay. So if I wanted to add Eddie Valiant on the hot list, I just click on where it says add to hot list, and I would put him in. But he's in jail, so he's not going to be on my hot list, but maybe Baby Herman is. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to put him on the hot list, and I can say something like Baby Herman said he will get the money. Click OK, and Baby Herman's on the hot list. And when he goes on the hot list, you're going to notice that the hot list is going to be it's going to turn yellow. It's going to be illuminated. That means he's already on the hot list. Okay. So dupes. What dupes are, let me go to an account that has a dupe, and you can see. With a dupe, this here is going to show you the accounts, what accounts there are, and how much both, all the accounts add up to be. So if I had Benny the Cab on the phone, I wouldn't ask him for $3,800.23. I'd be asking him for the $5,000. Okay, and dupes is going to show you what accounts they're tied to. Now you're going to notice the social security number, and you're going to notice the name and everything else. Now, if they're not the same, you can have a supervisor go over and untie them by clicking on Supervisor Access, entering an administrative password, and untying them. And then you'll be able to untie that account, and it won't be tied together no more. Okay? Certain things happen when you tie an account together. You could put a note on both accounts at the same time, click the Notate Log, and you're going to see this pop up because it detects that there's multiple accounts. So it'll put a note on all the accounts, okay, that are tied together. Okay, so that's what Dupes does. Letters, what letters is, this is a letter history. And if we wanted to, we could add a letter. We could add a first demand letter, okay? And it's going to schedule a letter. And on here, it'll actually pull up that it does it right here. It's going to put it in that it scheduled a letter for DM1. And it makes it easy because if you're going through your accounts and you notice there's no letters being scheduled, you could schedule the letters if they're set up in your system, okay? There are other letters too. There are things like if we went in and we had a settlement letter and we wanted to do a settlement letter, and the amount of settlement, if I do stuff like this and I say, okay, I'll do a settlement for say $2,500, and the date of the settlement is for, I'll give them a little bit of time to pay it, and I click OK, that information will be put inside the letter, so when it's printed out, you have that information for the settlement. Okay, now we have summary. Okay, a summary, you know, we have 639 accounts. Okay, if you notice there's 636 here, though we have 3 accounts that are closed status, 630 in new biz, you know, and it's going to list in the current month how much posted, how much pending, how much reversed, and everything like that. So that's basically how what your summary looks like. Then I showed you the promise log. Joint account is kind of like, you know, they're kind of like code editors, but they might just have an account that they have together, and this is where you would put in that information and modify it. And over here we have the phone log. We showed you the phone log before. This is a listing of all the phone numbers when they import accounts, even in your custom screens. If your custom collector screen is set up the right way, you'll be able to import accounts. You'll be able to see your phone numbers in the phone log that are in the custom fields. You can select a phone number, click dial right here. It'll dial the number if your system is set up for, you know, click to call dialing. Okay, that's how the phone log works. Let's see if we have one with code editors here. I don't think we do. Okay, code editors right here. Oh, we might actually. Hold on one second. If I go over here and I hit we're gonna go first name, Jessica Rabbit, I believe. Yep, she has code editors. So I'll go to code editor. I'll go over here to edit screen, and you're gonna see Roger Rabbit to code editor. And this is how you would edit that information. You just go over to whatever code editor it is, hit edit screen. Over here you can even send letters to code editors if it's set up like that in your system. I don't have any letters right at the moment, but that's how you would do it. Okay, bankruptcy information. It's the same thing. If there's an attorney on the account, send letters to attorneys only. You have docket numbers and everything. You would fill out this for your bankruptcy info. Deceased information, if the debtor happens to be deceased, you click edit screen and you would put this information in here. Okay, and attorney on account. Attorney on an account. Oh, wait a minute, I think baby Herman might have an attorney on an account. Hold on. Yes, he does. So you're going to see this right here for the attorney on the account, and this is where you would actually edit the information for that. Okay, so I showed you the good number button and the skip button. Now we're going to take some payments. So let's say that Baby Herman wants to pay, and you could take a check or you can take a credit card. So we're going to do check first, just to show you how this works. So the first thing you're going to want to ask, other than what the account number is what the routing number is, and I'm going to show you why. 3100277. And what happens is by putting in the routing number, the system will automatically contact a API on the web, and it'll pull out all your banking information for that routing number. Okay, so it has a built-in API, and we actually have a database backup just in case that doesn't work. Okay, and you could put in the account number, whatever that is. We could say this is for September 1st, and we could say this is for $100, and we can import all of his information and go over it. Up here you can select if it's a partial payment, what type of payment it is. It's consumer checking, savings, or business checking. We have SEC codes. Usually tellers if it's taken over the phone. Driver's license state. Okay, so if you want to do a payment, you click Add Payment. If you wanted to add multiple payments, you have two options. A lot of times you might just want to change the date and change the check number, or you could go into multiple payments. Okay, and you could say, I want, say, 6 of them. I want to start it off in November, and I want to, you just click OK, and it'll create the payments for you. Okay, you can change the status, notate the log. It even has a calculator in here. Okay, and you could generate a report as well. That happens to be supervisor authorization, but those reports can be you could actually make a payment plan report and stuff like that with that. Okay, so it says to create a change of status. We're not gonna change it. I don't have a payment plan at the moment. Okay, but you would normally change that to payment plan after you're done. Now with credit card processing, it's even better. We can take a payment with the credit card, and we could go in here and we could put in the card number. I'm just going to put in any number. Okay, if I hit validate, it's going to say it appears not to be valid. But with credit card processing, I can actually process it right on screen. This is going to fail because I don't have it hooked up. This is just a dev box. But if I hit process credit card, you sure you want to process it, it's going to actually go to the merchant account, and it's going to try to run the card. And right now the card's declined. Okay, but if this actually processed it, this would turn green, give you a confirmation number, and put the payment in here as being processed. Okay, so your debtors will be able to process this in real time while you have the guy on the phone, instead of having the debtor try to get him on the phone again. It's going to be very hard to do. Okay, but that's how the credit card processing works. So probably the only other thing I have is if you double click on the log, inside the log here, if you double click, the log is going to open this way. With Supervisor Access, I'm gonna open the Supervisor Access in here real quick. You'll actually be able to generate a report, and with that report, you'll be able to see a listing of all of everything in the log, just in case you needed to send the log to somebody on the particular debtor. You could save it as you could save it as many things. We have Adobe PDF, Excel, just a whole bunch of different stuff that you can save it as. All of our reports are like that with version 4 of Collections Max. You could export them right to Excel and Word and everything like that. So that's my tutorial for Collections Max Professional. I hope you guys learned something, and if you need any help with anything, feel free to open a support ticket on the website. Thank you for watching.